Why would you want to become an MMA champion when you already have millions of dollars? And more importantly, how did you get these millions? Nobody really knows. Or do they? This isn't just another fight story. This feels more like a cartel thriller disguised as a UFC documentary. Ilia Topuria is a 27-year-old wrecking machine who became the face of Spanish MMA. But even before he won the title, he was flying private jets, wearing tailored suits, and had a $2 million gym in his house. We're talking cryo chambers, hyperbaric pods, recovery rooms, and an octagon nicer than most arenas. So of course the internet did what the internet does, saying it's cartel money, a crypto rug pull, or his uncle is Georgian mafia. Because early UFC earnings, it's not nearly enough for Topuria's lavish lifestyle. Sponsorships? There are some, but it's not that much. Side businesses? Nothing is confirmed. Meanwhile, Ilia's flying private, wearing clean suits, and training like Bruce Wayne. Nobody in the UFC could explain it. Or at least, until now. This is the untold story of Topuria's mysterious fortune, his refugee hustle, and the conspiracies fans can't stop talking about. Let's start at the beginning. Refugee roots, raw hunger. Ilia wasn't born into money, he was born into chaos. His family were Georgian refugees living in Germany after the fall of the Soviet Union. When the dust settled, they moved back to Georgia. Then again to Spain when Ilia was 15, chasing opportunity. But they ended up finding bills, language barriers, and broken promises instead. No generational wealth, no mafia handouts, just grit. Ilia started fighting to survive. Not metaphorically, but literally. He took odd jobs just to pay gym fees. He was cleaning beaches, mopping floors, and working security. When he wasn't at school, he was training. When he wasn't training, he was working. When he wasn't working, he was sleeping on a mat and doing it all again the next day. He joined Clement Club, a no-frills gym in Alicante. It didn't have state-of-the-art tech, but it had heart. He trained like a possessed man. Fighting was the only thing that made sense for him. Within a few years, he went 7-0 as a pro and signed with the UFC in 2020. And from the second he stepped into the cage, it was clear. This guy is different. Cold, technical, dangerous. No wild antics, no McGregor bravado, just focused violence. But just as his star was rising, another narrative started creeping in. The luxury lifestyle before the paychecks. Most UFC prospects are still riding Ubers and eating canned tuna after a fight. But not Ilia. Ilia was gliding around in a Bentley like he just signed with Real Madrid. He was wearing tailored suits, luxury watches of over $50,000, and sipping espresso in beachfront villas that looked like Bond villain hideouts. And then came the video that made the internet go crazy, his home gym. Now when I say home gym, I don't mean a squat rack next to some dusty dumbbells in a garage. I mean a $2 million custom-built combat fortress. Full UFC-size octagon? Check. Cryotherapy chamber? Check. Hyperbaric oxygen room? Yup. Recovery center with pro trainers? Of course. Honestly, if Elon Musk decided to open a fight club on Mars, it would look like this. Custom branding, designer lighting. It looked like Dana White got blackout drunk, handed Ilia his black card, and said, "Build whatever you want, kid." And this wasn't after he won the belt. This was while he was still fighting undercards. So naturally, fans started doing the math. And the math wasn't mathing. Fighters at Ilia's level usually make somewhere between $40,000 and $100,000 per fight. That's before taxes, coaches, and your manager who takes 20% just to post your weigh-in pic on Instagram. So how the hell does a guy on rookie pay have a gym that looks like it belongs to Batman? The internet did what the internet does, imploded. Conspiracy theories were born overnight. And not the fun kind. The subreddits with dark themes and maps on the wall kind. Because when a fighter's lifestyle looks like a Forbes cover story before he's even headlined a card, you have to ask questions. And the answer had everyone shook. 3. Internet conspiracies, half-truths. You know how this goes. The internet turns into a full-blown crime documentary. Reddit becomes the new FBI, and everyone with a keyboard suddenly has a PhD in financial forensics. Top comments from the Basement Bureau. He's clearly a front for Georgian money laundering. I'm a Georgian myself, and I can confirm his family is in Georgian mafia. Married a billionaire's daughter. Madrid money hits different. He's a Spanish government project. Honestly, if Ilia sneezed and it echoed, Reddit would say it's a Morse code message from the Illuminati. Even Daniel Cormier, during a live interview, dropped the question we were all thinking. You're rich. How are you so rich you've got a $2 million gym at your house?
Because you built a $2 million gym in your house. You just won the belt. How could you have that much money?
Ilia gave the kind of vague answer that raises more questions than it answers.
Because I do stuff a part of the UFC.
I do stuff a part of the UFC. He didn't give details, no pitch decks, no Shark Tank story, just a calm grin and the quiet whir of a private jet somewhere off screen. It was like trying to question a Bond villain, but the villain's too polite to brag. Naturally, conspiracy TikTok lost its mind. One video had 3 million views just theorizing that Ilia's gym was secretly a bat cave. But beneath the tinfoil hats and deep dives, some pieces actually start lining up. And while the theories were wild, the truth, as always, might be even more impressive. Let's look under the hood. 4. The Actual Playbook. Let's be honest. At this point in the story, it's easier to believe Ilia Topuria has ties to an underground Georgian cartel than to believe he just saved his money wisely and invested a few thousands of dollars. I mean, the guy has a recovery center in his house, while most fighters are still having a plastic self-made $50 ice bath on their balcony in the hood. But here's the twist. If you strip away the internet conspiracy boards and the whispers of mafia money, what's left is actually more impressive. Because Ilia might just be running one of the smartest, cleanest operations in MMA today. 1. Early private sponsors. Ilia locked in legit sponsors before most fans could pronounce his last name. Spanish brands like Kio Mobile and Oblak Caps jumped on him early. Why? He looked like a Calvin Klein model who could also rip your head off. He was clean, calm, and dangerous. Perfect poster boy material. One executive even called him marketable without the madness. That's a compliment and a business plan. 2. Local investors. Spanish MMA fans claim that Ilia attracted quiet backers from the sports world. People with money, people with vision, maybe even people who don't ask too many questions. They saw the potential for a national hero, a champion from Spain who could represent them on the global stage. And let's be real, investing in Ilia Topuria is like putting money on prime Mike Tyson, but with better hair. 3. Business moves. While some fighters are blowing their fight bonuses on designer dogs and bottle service, Ilia's been investing. Gym franchises, health supplements, fitness tech startups. Rumors suggest he owns shares in 2 training centers and a supplement brand quietly expanding through Europe. And if you're wondering how someone this early in their career knows how to build a portfolio, it's because he treats fighting like a business, not a bar fight. 4. Media monetization. Ilia's Instagram isn't just aesthetic, it's strategy. Those cinematic training clips? Sponsored. That stoic fight poster vibe? Monetized. His YouTube channel alone brings in revenue most featherweights dream of. Some insiders claim his media side hustle outpaces his actual fight purses. And yes, that means while other fighters are risking their jaw for $80,000, Ilia's uploading footage of him jogging through mountains and making 5 figures. 5. Low-cost, high-flex lifestyle. And here's the secret sauce. Ilia doesn't live like an LA influencer. He splits his time between Spain and Georgia, 2 places where your dollar goes farther than a McGregor left hand. His luxury lifestyle? Real, but heavily optimized. A $10 million setup in LA? Probably $1.5 million in Batumi, and that includes fresh bread, ocean views, and nobody asking for a selfie every 10 feet. So yeah, to the average fan, it might look like cartel money. But once you zoom out, the truth's much sharper. Ilia doesn't only train like a killer. He plans like a CEO. He turns sponsorships into seed funding, media into revenue, and real estate into empire building. All before hitting his physical prime. Put it all together, and the mystery doesn't just crack. It makes sense. He's not laundering cash, he's just 5 moves ahead. He treated his body like an asset, his name like a brand, and his journey like a long game, with silence as his strategy and the entire fight world watching in disbelief. The quiet blueprint. Ilia Topuria isn't your typical fighter. He doesn't scream into a mic after a win, doesn't throw chairs at press conferences, and he sure as hell isn't selling you a $997 How to Fight Like Me course in his Instagram bio. He's quiet, calculated, dangerous, both in the cage and apparently on a spreadsheet. While other fighters are busy chasing shoutouts, Ilia was building systems. While they were spending their first fight bonus on gold chains and club tables, he was investing in businesses, stacking brand deals, and turning every clip of him punching pads into passive income. The man monetized before he ever had a belt. He branded before the UFC's marketing team ever noticed. And he built a training fortress in his house while other fighters are still Googling how to file self-employed taxes. He moves like a man with a blueprint. A guy who treats MMA not just as a career, but as an asset. So yes, he makes money, a lot of it, because he treats everything like a business. But here's the part that still makes people squint. Thieves much money? We're talking millions. Private jets, designer suits, a cryotherapy chamber in his basement, all before he ever touched UFC gold. So, we have to ask, is every dollar accounted for? Did it all come from smart deals, clean investments, and early branding, or is there something else? Because for a guy this private, this polished, and this untouchable, the silence almost feels too perfect. Maybe he's just a genius. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a piece of this puzzle we're not supposed to find.